Hey guys, happy Tuesday. I'm Tricia Turner. This is Walk Away Wealthy, formerly known as Anything But Average. The reason for this podcast, which has now been running for 2 full years on Tuesdays at 12 o'clock Central, is to bring positivity into the world, to bring you guys some success secrets, some strategies to help you grow your business, improve your life, do something good rather than listening to the fake news or bad media. So today I have Pierre Nadeau with me, and he's going to talk to you guys a little bit about how his business is actually thriving in a shifting market and kind of what they're doing and how he's grown his business. So welcome, Pierre.
Wow, that's amazing. Thank you so much.
We have to, of course, start because not everybody knows you. And we
Yeah.
have a lot of people that watch because we're on YouTube and we're everywhere. And so, Pierre, kind of tell everybody what you do for a living, where you are in the world, and how long you've been doing that.
Awesome. Yeah. Well, thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it. I mean, to be on your podcast is amazing. So when you asked me, I was honored. So really nice being here. I'm from Kingston, Ontario, Canada, and I've been in real estate for the last 20 years. And I've had a team for probably the last 17 years, building a team here. I used to be with a big box company, and then I opened my own independent brokerage, did that for almost 10 years. And then about 3 years ago, a good friend of mine, Andre LaFontaine, approached me about a company called EXP, wanted me to check it out for him. And we decided to basically take the EXP model and combine it with what we were doing. The model that I had going with my brokerage was more like a team model. And so we basically married the two together and just turned it into something really, really good. So that's kind of where we're at today.
Super cool. And for you guys out there in the world, like and of course I'm with EXP and I'm on 4 years now. In October, it was 4 years. One of my greatest things with EXP is this, that I know Pierre because of EXP, because I didn't know him prior to me joining the company. So let's kind of backpack a little or unpack some of that. Like 20 years in real estate is a long time. And you were with a big box company. How long were you with that big box company?
We were there about 7 years.
Okay.
And, I mean, at the time it was great, right? It's all we knew. It's all, it is what it is. I mean, we didn't know any better, but
Yep.
every year I knew that every year I was spending, almost $100,000 a year to be part of this company. And it was like, okay, I don't mind spending money if I'm getting something out of it, but if I'm not getting something, it's like, okay, what do I do? But the problem was every year around this time of the year, I'd be looking at my numbers going, oh my God, where can I cut back? Where can I cut back? And, should I make a move? Should I go to, XYZ? Should I go to this company? But it was just a lateral move. So I never did make a move until I almost opened a Keller Williams, actually, and spent a lot of time with them. I really, liked what they were doing. And, but then when it came down to the numbers, it just didn't make sense. I needed like 75 agents to be profitable. And, that was equivalent to what I was making with 5 agents on my team at the time. So I'm like, that's not worth it. So I decided to open my own independent brokerage. And that way I got to keep 100%, right?
Oh, yeah. I remember that. Yeah. And it sounds so good, Pierre, right?
So I remember the biggest year we had 22 agents on our team. We did a crazy amount of volume.
Yep.
And it was my least profitable year ever. Yeah.
I can relate because I had my own too. But before we talk about that, because we are going to talk about that, because people, especially right now with the market change like it has, like in the United States and in Texas, where I am in Houston, our market shifted around June 1st. And so sales have been declining since then, of course, and we're nowhere near what we were doing last year, nor is anybody. And so there's a lot of those independent brokers that are out there feeling it right now when they're based their model just on transaction fees.
Yeah.
However, when you were at that big box company, what made you decide I'm not going to do this solo agent thing? I want to build a team, because teams haven't been, I mean, they've been around forever, but not into the degree that they are now.
Right. I think for me, what happened was, for my first 5 years, I didn't have a coach. And on my 5th year, I hired myself a coach, and my business went through the roof once I've hired a coach. Right. But the one of the first things was, you're too busy and you're doing a lot of crap that you shouldn't be doing. You should be handing that off. But of course, having an ego and thinking that nobody can do it as good as me was like, nope, that's not going to happen. They're going to mess it up, and my business is going to go down the tube. So we ended up, finally I ended up hiring an assistant, and my business the next year doubled.
Hmm.
So because I just basically handed off everything I hated doing, and my business, I was focused on just, meeting with clients. So that was
Yes.
fantastic. And then I started hiring some, some agents to help out with showings and things like that. And then that just it just kept growing and growing and growing. So we just needed more people. Right.
So when
So
you were there, how big did you grow your team?
we had about, I think 5 agents was the most we ever had. So I had 1 assistant with 5 agents, and that was pretty good. We were doing probably, we were ranging 275 to 300 transactions a year at that time.
That is
So
good.
we were hustling. Yeah, I didn't have much of a life. We were
No.
working
And
80,
you were
90 hours a week.
too, right?
What's that?
You were still in production at that time, weren't you?
Oh, 100%. I've been in production right up until 2 years ago.
Okay.
Yeah.
So when you form that team, and a lot of people, nowadays, I believe the mega teams and the big teams are taking over. I believe the consumers are expecting that. At least here in the United States, they are. I don't know the Canada market, but as you are evolving and growing, and those are big numbers, especially with only 5 agents. What were some of like your biggest constraints? Like, I can't get past this. I wish I wouldn't have done this. Just so people building a team can learn.
I think the worst thing that I experienced was, every year around this time of the year, my top agents would leave.
Yeah.
So, and it didn't matter how much, we were friends or they were involved with, hanging out. It didn't matter because, if they're paying me 50%, and I get it, right?
Yep.
They're paying me 50%. They figured, hey, we're now making 150, 200,000 a year. We're paying him half of that. I can go do that on my own, right? So they were using us as a stepping stone, and it didn't matter how much value I put on the table, they would still leave every
Yep.
year. Right. And then, of course, you start taking it personally, thinking, geez, everybody hates me. I'm like, I'm awful. But
Yes.
if I was in that situation, I would be doing the same thing as well because, they were growing me, they weren't growing themselves. So we actually changed that a lot and learned a lot from those things. Right. Took me a long time to figure it out. But when we opened our brokerage, we kind of was like, all right, because our brokerage that I was at before, the big box brokerage, which was Royal LePage in Canada, it's one of the biggest ones in Canada. They had their own rules as to how we ran our team.
Yeah.
So basically, they couldn't get their own branding. They couldn't have their names or pictures on the sign. So they didn't like that. Right.
Yep.
So when I opened my own brokerage, now all of a sudden it was my rules. So I took a lot of the things that I learned from there that people didn't like. And I said, okay, here, you guys can do that. And now even my local team, it's not even a team. It's more of a partnership group. And that's how we do it. They love the services. They love what they get from it. But they get the brand themselves, and I want them to grow. And I've even, implemented a couple of stages where they can grow out of that model and grow into their own model, build their own team. And so we have options for them now. And I think that that's what's basically keeping them around.
So when you left the big box company and you went and did your own brokerage, how many agents did you have at that time?
When I went and opened my own company,
Yeah.
oh, I only had like 5 or 6 at the time.
Okay.
Yeah.
How big did you grow it to?
The biggest we grew it to was 22, but again, that was my least profitable year, right? And then we restructured. There was some falling out with some agents and stuff. Actually, I had one of my agents leave and take my admin staff, basically my office manager, my inside sales manager, and 3 or 4 of my agents, and they went and opened their own brokerage, right?
Wow.
Which lasted like 7 months, and then that fell apart. But it was a blessing. At the time it was devastating.
Oh,
It
yeah.
was like, oh my God, I can't believe this, right? And the best part is one of them was the person who did it was a relative of my wife's. And yeah, so that made it great.
That's even worse. Oh, gosh.
Family reunions are wonderful now.
Yeah.
But yeah, you know what? It was a blessing. It was the best thing that happened to my business because now I was like, okay, I no longer want drama. No more drama. And it really, I kind of cut the fat, and it was just like, okay, we're going to focus on this. This is what's making us money. And this is what we're going to do moving forward. And you know what? I was lucky at the time. My son was in the business with me. He stepped up. My marketing guy at the time, he stepped up, and we just stepped in and we took over and we just changed everything. And it was awesome after that.
So when you were running your own brokerage, like when I had mine, there really weren't. There was a couple of small teams, or like two people teams, and I ran it just like a brokerage. Like I was still in production, so I was just doing my own thing, and then I had individual agents, and they were just
Mhm.
kind of doing their own thing, each branding each other, and that's it.
Yeah.
Did you run yours the same way?
We did have that, but I mean, that even caused problems as well because of the way that we were structured was I mean, I even have people from I had another small team that was working in my brokerage and they were trying to recruit people off of my team within the brokerage. I'm like, really?
Wow,
Like, really?
why? You
You
know.
know what? It was just so cutthroat, right? It was just such a cutthroat environment. And so you live and learn. And again, we made some changes to that, but yeah, we did have independent agents, and then we had other teams, and then we had my team as well.
So when people hear the story and they listen to this and they're like, okay, well, he had 22 agents and that was his least profitable year. Kind of explain that a little bit because a lot of people have this misconception that when you
Yeah.
run your own brokerage, you're at the
Yeah.
top and you're making all this money. Walk through that a little bit.
Well, I think what happened was because we needed so many admin staff
Mhm.
to just basically cover everything that was going on, and because I ran it like a team model, I was paying for everybody's expenses, and I was paying for all the signage, the videos, the stagers, everything, right? So they
Yep.
basically were walking into an all-inclusive resort on my dime. So
Yeah.
they were building their business, with my money is what they were
Oh,
doing.
yeah.
So there was kind of a point there. Like I knew that when we were at 12 to 15 agents, we were very profitable.
Yeah.
And then as soon as it got above that, I just needed too many staff. And when you're paying staff members what they're getting
Yes.
now, and to get good ones, you got to pay well, right? Well, now all of a sudden, the expenses were just going through the roof. So that's why we had to scale back.
So when you did that, was that like your last year the brokerage was open?
That was pretty close to being the last couple of years. Actually, the last 3 years, Tricia, were really good, really profitable. Like when I saw the EXP model, I wasn't looking to make a move.
Okay.
I was happy. We were making good money. I was still in production though. Like I was probably doing, 40% of the production
Yep.
of the team. So if I stepped out, and which I did try to do, and that year that we made the least amount of money was a year that I stepped out. I was trying to step
Oh,
out of production.
yeah.
Okay. I was just trying to hand it all off
Right.
and manage. Well, that wasn't profitable. So the year that the last year was a very good profitable year, but the problem was I was working, 80 hours, 90 hours a
Yep.
week, right?
Yeah.
So, I did not make the move for more money. I made the move for more time.
I love that.
Yeah.
So walk me through that. Like when you were having a good year, you're making lots of money, the business is profitable. Did you seek out EXP or did someone reach out to you?
No, my friend Andre reached out to me and he just he'd asked me if I'd heard about the model, and I said, "Well, I've heard of it. I don't know anything about it." And he said, "Well, I need you to do me a favor." He goes, "I'm looking at, this model. I need some opinions and I want somebody from out of town." So anyways, he showed me a video. I mean, he probably did everything possibly wrong, right? Sent
Yes.
me a video, and I took a look at the video, and I thought, as an owner, I should know what's going on. So I
Yes.
took a look at it, and I went, "Oh my god, this is like, if this is legal, this is pretty good, right?" Then I showed it to my son. He went to his office, watched the video, came back, and he's like, "Holy crap." He goes, "Is this in Canada?" And I said, "Well, I don't know." I said, "I gotta call Andre and see." So I called Andre and I said, "Okay, so what's the deal with this? And what's the deal?" And I started asking questions. Andre was very, very smart though. He put me in front of some people like Jay
Yeah.
Kinder and Al Stasic. And because I didn't connect with Andre, but I connected with those guys, right? Because Andre wasn't a producing agent at the time. But
No.
then all of a sudden he puts me in front of Al Stasic, and Al was like, had a team. He was, had his own brokerage
Oh yeah.
that I connected with, and we had all the same pain points. So then I was like, okay, yes, this is better. And then that's when we started. Then we went to a conference down in Eastern Canada where they had about 200 independent brokerages there for a conference. And guess what they talked about for 3 days?
EXP.
EXP. This is what's coming. This is what's happening. This is what's going on. And my son and I are just looking at it, and we're not in yet, right? We're just checking
Yeah.
this thing out. And we're looking at each other going, holy crap, we better get in before everybody else, right?
Yes.
So
Yes.
that's exactly what we did. And anyways, 4 or 5 of those brokerages ended up coming over with us as well. So it's
So
pretty cool.
when you were moving over, when you decided to make that transition, did you tell all of your agents and were they all happy about it?
Yeah, I don't know that they were all happy about it. they were, they were like me. They were like, they had questions. So
Yep.
I sat down with each individual agent out of respect and just said, here, this is what I'm looking at. What do you think? Right. And I sat down and watched that same video with every one of them.
Yep.
And 13 out of the 15 at the time were like, yep, we're in. If you think this is the way to go, we're in. We like it. It looks awesome. It's obviously better than what we're doing now. So it was a win-win for them
Yeah.
because they were going to get everything that I was doing plus everything that EXP was offering.
Yep.
So it was a win-win for them. And my two lowest producers didn't come, which was okay because we went from basically 13 agents to, we're almost at, well, technically we're at 500 agents this week. So,
Crazy.
so that was a big, that's where the growth has gone. Right. So obviously it was a good move for us for sure.
So when you were looking at that model and you're at this conference and you're hearing all this talk about it, what were some of the things, even if it was just one or two, that you were like, this is a game changer, this is going to make me say yes?
For me, what made me, the coaching. Because I was doing coaching every week.
Yeah.
And I'm going to be honest, I hated it. I hated it. And the reason I hated it is because I had 15 agents on my team, 3 or 4 of them would show up.
Yep.
Right. And I was just, I was becoming a babysitter. And
Oh,
I
yeah.
was like, why am I doing this if people aren't even? So then when I saw the coaching that EXP offered, I mean, I was paying 40 grand a year for a coach myself.
Right.
Right. And then the first year that I got in EXP, I got rid of my coach. And this was the thing. The coach that I had never done, like I was doing 300 deals. I was always trying to get the 500. How do I get the 500? Right. And I realized real quick that he had never done 500 deals.
Yeah.
So how was he going to teach me how to scale and get to that when he'd never done it himself? Great guy,
Yep.
but not what and then I meet Jay Kinder, and Jay Kinder's like, yeah, I've done 500 deals. I'll show you how to do it. So I'm like, okay. And I said, what's that going to cost me? He goes, it's free. It's included in our package. And I'm like, okay, perfect. Well, 2 years later, we did over 500 deals.
Isn't that crazy?
And I didn't pay a dime for coaching.
It's the world that you entered into.
That's crazy, right? I remember going, and I don't know if you were there at this thing, but we were down in Florida at one point, in the Keys.
I was there.
There was a mastermind, and it was my first experience with EXP. And I sat in this room, and I'm thinking, I'm doing 300 deals a year, and I'm the smallest agent in this room, I think. And I'm like, I'm so embarrassed. I thought it was a big deal, and I get there, and people are doing 600-700 deals a year, 1,000 deals a year, and I'm like, okay, I'm just gonna sit in the corner. I'm gonna listen. But I walked away from there, and my mind expanded. Right, just to be in a room with that many top producers was like, wow, I'm in the right place at the right time.
Was that the Key West one where Brian Carruthers was with us too?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
I was there too. Yeah, I was thinking the same thing. It's like,
yeah,
this is insane.
Yeah. That was amazing. Yeah.
But who has that? Like, I don't know. I mean, I've been at every big box company there is out there. I've been doing this 20 years too. Had my own company. I've never been in rooms like that until I got with EXP ever.
Yeah. Exactly.
They just don't exist unless you're going to spend $15,000, $25,000, $50,000 to get in one of those rooms. But again, you're not going to become friends with those people. It's going to be a one and done kind of thing. We actually all know each other,
Yeah.
This is a normal thing for us. This is what we do.
I was paying 20 grand a year to be part of a mastermind group, and it was not anything close to what that was. The volume and the production and the people. And then the fact that everybody was getting up there and telling us all their secrets and what they were doing. I was like, this is crazy. Like,
so when you first moved over and coaching was like one of your things that was like, I'm going for this. Was there something else that was like an eye opener for you?
Well, I mean, obviously I like the rev share side of things, right? Because I was already doing it.
Yeah.
I was already recruiting agents to my team and my brokerage, right? That was an ongoing thing because every year at this time of the year, I had to replace people, right? And that was my cash flow. And if I didn't replace those people, there goes my cash flow. And, everybody thinks we're making a ton of money when we own our own brokerages. But if I would have stepped out of production, right, then I would have not made any money. So, yeah, I mean, yeah, I mean, it's just, you had to keep working, right? So now luckily 3 years in, I mean, I think I did 12 transactions myself last year.
Which is easy.
But the team has basically tripled in size, and the profit, at the end of the day, it's all about the profit. I don't care how many deals I'm doing. For me, it's like, what's the bottom line? And when I look at when my accountant, did a thing for me just recently where it just showed where we went from the last 5 years. And to see the growth, literally my profit is 5x in the last 3 years.
That is insane.
Yeah. And I now get to play. I mean, I think we counted the other day, it was like 112 rounds of golf this year. Right. So I golf. This is the thing, Tricia. My calendar has now changed completely, right? That my clients don't run my calendar. I run it. Right. So I play 3 rounds of golf minimum every single week. That goes into my calendar 2 weeks in advance, and everything else rotates around that. Right.
I love that.
Yeah. And because that's something I've always wanted to do, and I haven't been able to do it. Last year, I got to go spend 3 months in Arizona, and I worked from Arizona all winter. And because of the systems we've got in place and the people that I have on my team, my business actually grew. When I came back, my office manager said, "You should have stayed longer because things are." So I'm starting to get a complex, but things actually grew, which was
Yeah.
incredible. So this year we're going for 4 months, right?
Oh my gosh, I love that.
Yeah. So
Which is unheard of.
I know.
All right,
know.
so let's kind of walk through teams starting at EXP. Now you're 3 years in. What kind of staff do you have? How are you working the agents? Like, how are you able to leave for 3 or 4 months at a time? Because people watching this are going to be like, I want to do that. How can you do
Yeah.
that?
Well, I'm very lucky, right? Because I learned early that the people you surround yourself with is probably one of the most important thing, because they're what make us look good, right? And I mean, I've got the ultimate all-star team right now, and I don't have a lot of staff. I have one admin person. She's my office manager. She helps with some onboarding stuff. She uploads our listings. Now, I know for us in Canada, there's a lot less to do compared to what you guys do in the US. But she kind of overlooks the office, and then when agents come on, she does a training session with them, and then she follows up with them on a regular basis to make sure that, so she's there for all the technical questions. Then I have a marketing person who looks after all of our social media. She does all the branding stuff. She does all the brochures and things like that for our agents. And then I have a video guy who now does all our videos for our properties, and he does our podcast, and he does all the video commercials for our agents on our team. And what I've done is I've made them partners in the company. So if the company grows, they get a bonus every year based on the profit that we make. So they now have vested interest in seeing us grow.
Yeah.
Okay. That was probably the biggest game changer I did, I think, was because before, when I had somebody on a salary, every time I hired a new agent, she was upset because now she had to do more work, but she's getting paid the same amount of money. And now I get that. I understand, right? Whereas now, if we grow, they grow.
I love that.
Plus, they're very cautious about spending and what we're doing. And we have quarterly meetings, and obviously we have biweekly meetings as well, where we're constantly discussing things and watching the budget and making sure that, hey, are we on track, right? So they're in the game, like they're partners. So.
And you're 2 years out of production now?
Yeah, so I think my first year at EXP, I mean, we had to close our brokerage. We had a lot of crap that we had to deal with that. And then the second year, I'd still done over 100. I think I did 123 transactions myself. And then what we did was we kind of slowly worked out of that. So John Kitchens, helped me with the transition. And then last winter was the first, like this time last year was the first time that I said, okay, we're going to transition out of that, and we're just going to work on growing the team and supporting the team and helping them and doing everything. And so last winter, that's where we tried it for 3 months, and it changed everything.
So you had to have been nervous about that, because there's team leaders and brokers that are like, I want to do that, but how,
Yeah. Well, I think it's leverage. It's, we all want leverage, right? And it's like compound interest. Like our business started the compound. Now, I mean, I have not broken any records at all with this, but I mean, it took us 2 years to have 200 agents on our team. And then but I see other people, right, killing it. And I'm like, okay, what am I doing wrong? But overall, I think it's okay. And then, 7 months later, we're at 400. We doubled. And then I was like, oh, shoot, this is getting crazy, right? So I'm actually looking forward to this winter. And now we've got some huge traction. I mean, we just picked up some major players in Canada. We just picked up one of the top Remax teams. I mean, he just came over a month ago. And then now, because of that, we have the top Remax team coming over in a certain area. And that's going to be crazy. I mean, they got 30 agents on their team. And so it's just kind of like a domino effect now. Everything is just starting to roll through, and it's exciting. We've had an exciting week. Yesterday was an amazing day, because that's, Yesterday I get a call in the morning. This is my day. I get a call in the morning from this one agent that we've been working with for a year to come over. And he's like, okay, it's done. I just gave my notice. I'm like, oh, why? Don't give your notice yet. You're supposed to give your notice after you move. So anyways, he says it's all cool. It's all good. So he's got like 28 agents coming over
Nice.
next week. And this guy did 770 deals last year.
Very nice.
Okay.
Yeah.
So this is a big deal. Right.
Yes.
But then he's also bringing some other influencers with him along the ride. Right. So it's insane. Like that was my morning. Right. And then yesterday afternoon, and then I had a couple of phone calls that I had to make after that to get things in order. And then yesterday afternoon, I golfed. And then last night went home, had dinner with my wife. And then last night, I was on the phone for an hour and a half. That was it. That's my day.
Yeah.
Like,
but if you would look now, if you turn back the clock, I bet your life was not like this 2-3 years ago.
I didn't have a life.
No.
Didn't have a life.
Life changing. And, like I try to do a theme every month. And because EXPCon was in October, I was like, let's focus on how EXP has changed our lives because it's a completely different life than what we lived 3, 4, 5 years ago.
Yeah.
When I got in, there was only 14, right at 14,000 agents, which of course now we're over 86,000. And I remember like Brandon Town was one of the first Canadians that had joined us. And he was like, and we became instant friends. And he's like, there's nobody in Canada. Like EXP is not even known here.
I know.
Okay. Now you've been in 3 years. Are you seeing that as a big difference now?
I mean, people know about us now, right? Because we've brought over a lot of big producers. So, and you know what happens when the big producers come, everybody watches and follows and says, okay, what's going on? Right. So that's happening more and more. So I think people have heard of us, right? Like I was on a call earlier today and the guy, he has a team. He's only got 3 agents, but he's like, you know what? He says, I've seen this a couple of times already, but he goes, nobody explained it like you did. Right. So he might have had somebody brand new explain it to him.
Yeah.
And it just didn't make sense. Right. But now, that I've done it so many times, I can explain. But again, some agents will talk to people and all they're doing is they're selling EXP, but people aren't looking for EXP. They're looking for you to solve a problem.
Yep.
Right. And if their problem is retention or their problem is recruiting or whatever, like help solve that problem and you'll have a friend for life. Right.
Yeah.
And that's what Andre did for me is that he solved some problems that I was having. Right. And profitability was one of them.
Well, and two, like when I moved over, I was already in Jay and Mike's coaching program.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't know them prior to being part of that coaching program. So then when I saw them speak at an event, they of course pitched their coaching thing. I was like, I'm in. These guys are just brilliant. And it changed my life. It like opened so many doors and a whole new environment. So I really wasn't looking at doing anything different either. I was running my own brokerage and I thought I was happy. However, Michael reached out to me and, had a great conversation on the phone. And he was like, look, we need you to come to Frisco. You got to look at these numbers, Tricia, because this just doesn't make sense. And so sat in a room with Jay and Mike and Woods for 4 hours in Frisco, this big conference room. And at that point I was sitting there like, I don't know what I've done to be so wildly blessed to be able to sit, they really care. They want to help me. Yeah. And I would be an idiot not to say yes to this because I trust them. I'd only been with them for 1.5 years. So I knew that they knew what they were talking about. And I thought, you know what, I'm going to go with it because they've never misguided me. These guys are successful. If they're saying yes to it, I'm going to say yes to it. And Jay said the most profound thing. He was like, Tricia, you have a Blockbuster and this is Netflix. And in 2 to 5 years, you're going to be the lone person at your Blockbuster. Is that what you want? I was like, no. And it just stuck. I mean, that was like the light bulb moment for me. And that's something exactly that Jay would say, it's like, no, I don't know. I'm not doing that, and it's like, and for me, it was like, I didn't want to be away from them. Like they had already changed my life so much. I was like, I don't want to be without y'all. This is like what I know now, And it has. It's like that was the best business decision of my life. And when we did it, I had 50 agents and we did things all wrong because I was one of the first people that we moved over. And so we didn't do the one-on-ones and we should have. And so of the 50, really only 20 came with me.
Yeah.
And it was a really rough transition, but I learned so much from it that it's like now it's a no-brainer. Like, when I see it, I don't understand how people don't see it, and I think pride gets in the way.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. Ego.
Big time.
Ego. Yeah. Hey, I had just spent like 10 grand on a new sign for my building just prior to, and we just built a brand new office, right?
I was going to ask you that.
Yeah, and Andre is like, "Oh yeah, you don't need an office anymore." I'm like, "Dude, I just bought a building. I just bought like it's beautiful. And I just put up a sign and like who's going to cover all that expense? Like is this going to be worth it, right?" But
Yeah.
you know what? My wife actually tried to talk me out of doing this and which is kind of funny because she tried to talk me out of even getting into real estate full time, talked me out of opening my own brokerage. But she really tried to talk me out of it, and she goes like, "Why would we do this? We're already doing good. Like this
Yeah.
is like, why would you mess with something that's already working?" And I said, "Well, because this is better.
Uh-huh.
It's just better. Like it's not only better for us, it's better for our agents. Like,
Yes.
and if we really do care about our agents like we say we do, then we owe it to them.
Yeah.
And if we don't do it, they're gonna see this and they're all gonna leave because we can't compete with it."
Yes.
Right? So
Yes.
that was the final thing, and I'm glad I didn't listen to her again.
I'm glad you didn't too. When I was doing my own thing, it was a big awareness of the average agent and how they really don't sell a lot of homes and they only, sell 4 to 6 homes a year. And it's like,
Yeah,
holy crap, how do they even pay their bills?
yeah,
And I became like obsessed, passionate about training them and helping them and coaching them just like you did. And for the average age, I mean, you can give them everything. I tell you what to say, when to say it, how to say it. Here's the tools, but you can't make them do the work. And at the
yeah,
end of the day, as a broker, because you were a broker too, and I am too, like when I got my broker's license, it wasn't so I could just do my own thing. It was really to make a difference and to help the agents. And it's like, if that really was the goal, then, and there's a better alternative for them, especially for their future, so they don't have to be doing listing appointments when they're 60, 70, 80 years old, then why would you not,
exactly, exactly.
I
We've
mean,
we've we've had so many agents, and now the calls that we get, it's unbelievable. Like I'm getting text messages, not every day, but maybe 2 or 3 times a week of people saying thank you and, "Oh, listen, I just brought this person on. They're so excited." And yesterday again, I had a text message from one of my agents, Michelle, where she sent me a picture of somebody that just came over and joined her, and she was all excited. And I was like, "Man, this is awesome!" Right? Like
yeah,
just to hear that stuff. And I had a message the other day from Dave in Peterborough. Dave said, "I know you probably don't really care what's going on over here, but I do know you get fired up about exciting stuff." And he just gave me an update of what was going on. I said, "Man, I want to hear this stuff all the time, right? Because it makes my day. It
yes,
makes you feel good about what the decisions that you made, right? Because you're actually helping people. You're really helping people."
you're changing lives.
Yeah.
So when you were moving over, and like you said, you had just bought a building. Well, now fast forward 3 years, are you guys in that building? Are you utilizing it?
Yeah, I'm old. I figured I'm gonna keep the building. It's not costing me much to be here really, right? So, and I'll tell you why I kept it. And it was kind of stupid, but I kept it because I didn't want people to have an excuse to say, "Oh, well, we're not going over because you don't have an office. We want office space," right?
Yep.
And then COVID hits and everybody realizes we don't need an office anymore,
Yeah.
right? Technology changed our world. EXP changed the way, real estate agents started seeing, how business was being done. And I think that that's maybe why we had such a huge growth spurt there, was because, people are realizing that we don't have to spend thousands of dollars every month on an office space,
Yeah.
right? Now saying that, I mean, the only reason I have an office is because I have staff and we've got a good crew here. We probably got 60 or 70 agents now in our little area. So it's a place for them to come and socialize once in a while. But even our meetings, I'm telling you, at one point, everybody said, "Oh, let's do in-person meetings again." I said, "Okay, that's great. No problem. I'll do that. I'm here anyways. I don't care."
Yeah.
And I said to my office manager at the time, I said, "Watch this." I said, "I give this 3 weeks and it'll dwindle down again, right? First week out of 70, 20 some show up. I'm like, oh, this is awesome. We got food, we got donuts, we got coffee, everything's good, everybody's having fun." The next week we had 12. The next week we had 4.
Oh gosh.
3 of them were my staff. Okay. So I laughed, right? I think this is funny, right? But guess what? Everybody shows up on Zoom meetings.
Yeah.
And I'm okay with that. I'm okay with that because if they don't have to leave the comfort of their home and they can just do a Zoom meeting and they will attend, I'd rather have that than them not get the information,
Yeah.
right? So, and it's just the world we're in today, and I'm okay with it because now we can work from anywhere in the world.
We can. And so with EXP, there's different team models. There's the mega team and a standard team. Then there's kind of
Yep.
like a non-organized team. What would you consider yours?
We're a mega team.
Okay. So we are here too as well.
Yeah.
Do
Yeah.
you find that that is something that your agents like? Do they appreciate that mega team structure?
Yeah. I mean, $4,000 cap, who wouldn't?
Yes.
Right.
And we had the same conversations with our agents yesterday. It's like, well, normally it's a 16,000 cap or an 8 if
Yeah.
you're just a standard team.
Now I've done something a little different, right?
Right?
I have 3 options for people. So when people come in to see me, I give them 3 options. Option number
Okay.
1 is you're on your own, you're doing your own thing, you're on your 80/20 split. This is EXP.
Okay.
Option number 2 is they come in and they have it's kind of like a concierge service, right? So they pay me a percentage of all their sales and they get access to all our stuff.
Okay.
So they hand in a listing, everything gets done for them. It's kind of like an all-inclusive resort. Okay.
Okay.
So,
Wow.
they use my admin. So they're walking into something that has systems in place right
Right.
away. So they don't have to hire an admin person, don't have to hire a marketing person. Everything's done for them. Okay.
And is it branded to them?
It's branded to them. They have their own brand, their own team. So, we have a few teams that are on that and they
Okay.
like that because they want their own brand.
Yeah.
Then we have the mega team option where they're on a $4,000 cap and it's the all-inclusive resort, except now we provide them with leads. We do some branding stuff for them where we advertise on billboards and they get social media advertising and they get a little extra, but they
Okay.
get a $4,000 cap. So
Now, the people on your option number 2, is there any cap with them at all?
no, they keep going.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
they're on an 80/20 split with EXP to 16,000 capping, right?
Yeah. They cap at 16 grand and then they'd keep paying me their percentage to me as well.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's a no-brainer.
So what's cool about that is that, okay, when the person comes on the mega team, right? The partnership group is what we call it.
Yeah.
Okay. And it's the Nadeau real estate group. So when they come on that, then, the idea is to help them grow and
Yes.
graduate them to one of the other models, right? Like I had one of the ladies that, she's awesome. She's been with us forever. Lori, I mean, it was funny because she left the team one day. She said, I want to try doing this on my own. So we're like, great, we'll help you. And this is what you do. So she goes out on her own. She goes to option number 1. And like 2 or 3 months later, she calls me. She's like, oh my God, I didn't realize how much you guys were actually doing. Can I go to option number 2 now? Right? Because I want you to do all my stuff. And she's killing it. She's absolutely killing it. So that is what is so rewarding with this, is because I would normally lose those people to another company, right? Now they can move around within the models and they're still excited, right? So we didn't lose them. We're still friends. Everybody's getting along and everybody's doing well, which is good.
So when you look at like option 2 versus option 3, the people in option 3, which is your mega team, they're getting leads, they're getting probably personal coaching from you. It's a tighter team feeling.
Tighter team environment. Yeah, they get more stuff. We do all their videos for them, their podcasts, their commercials, their floor plans for their homes, like all the videos for the homes, the drone work, everything. Like it's literally a 5-star all-inclusive resort.
Yeah. And for, the average agent out there, I mean, it's a no-brainer because number 1, it takes all of that stuff that they have to figure out off of their plate.
Exactly.
Completely.
Exactly. It makes so much sense.
Yes.
And you know what? I've even had conversations with, some of them because they think that what we're charging them is a lot. Well, I'll tell you, we charge them 20%, right? But
which is nothing.
It's nothing because I know when I was building my team, my profit margins were like 20%,
Yeah.
20 to 30% if I was lucky. That was my profit margin, right? And, and I said, if you have to pay 20% to have a team under you from day one of an admin person who has like 20 years experience, to have a marketing person that has, the best marketing stuff that we do in our whole area, and then to have somebody that's going to look after your social media and your, all your campaigns and everything, like for 20%, you can't do it. And one day I actually had to sit down with them and go through the numbers and show them, this is what it would cost you if you did this on your own. Yeah. And it was actually cheaper. And I said, the best part is you don't have to keep replacing them because they leave.
Yes, they do.
Because if you're not paying them good money, they're going to leave. And then you got to train them for another 6 months. And then and we just had it happen in our office, right? One of the guys, he trained somebody and they ended up leaving and now he's got to do it all over again. Right. So, I mean, it's a win-win. It just depends on what they want. And that's what we're trying to do is meet them at, okay, what is it you need? Yeah. Right. Who cares about what I need? Is what do you need?
Yeah. I think that's so awesome. Mm-hmm. Now, looking back like 3 years that you're in, what would you say is now your favorite 1 or 2 things about EXP and how your business has changed?
I just love, you know what? I remember when I met Jay now and Andre, well, let's use Jay now because they'd already been in for a while. They were so excited. right? I just like, how are these guys so excited about what they're doing, right? And then every time I talked to them, they were even more and more and more excited, right? And today, I think they're more excited than they were back then.
I do
And I,
too.
and I didn't get that. Now I get it because now we're getting these people reaching out to us saying, thank you so much. And this is what you've done. And this is what's awesome. And I'm like, that is the most rewarding thing. It's not even money. And even though that's gotten better, it's like, it's the fact that we're associating with people that want to grow and want to do better. Like, how hard is that? Right. You and
Yes.
I get to collaborate and all these people like, and then this guy that decided, yesterday, I said, man, I said, you know what I'm excited about? I'm not excited that, our rev share is going to go up this year because of you. I'm excited because you're a cool guy. You're a
Right.
great guy. And I listened to you in a meeting, 2 weeks ago, talk to your team, and I got goosebumps listening to you talk, and you got me fired up. And I left that and I was fired up just listening to you. Those are the kinds of people I want to be around.
Yes.
That want to grow because you are who you associate with,
Oh
right?
yeah.
So that's what's fun. That's what's exciting.
Did you find, like for me, when I moved over after the first, and I moved over in October, and then we went to EXPCon in November, and it was in Louisiana that year, and it was the smallest group ever. We literally just had like 2 round tables. There was like 20 of us. It was just this tiny little core group of honey badgers. And then fast forward our next like shareholders, and then as we started going to all these events, it was like I went to heaven. It's like, oh my gosh, these are all the people that are like me, and the
Mhm.
energy was just insane. You leave there and you're just like, I don't want to leave. Number one, like you go back to this like normal life, and it's like
Yeah.
I need that. It's almost like a drug. It's like I need that fix. I need to be around those people. You know, it's like an injection of energy. It's like
I
that's
know.
where you've
I
been my
know.
whole life.
I know. I know. It's crazy. And some people think that might be weird, but it's just when I had my brokerage, I was on my own,
Oh,
right?
totally.
There was nobody to help,
Nope.
right? You couldn't go to another, broker owner and say, "Hey, what are you doing here? What are you doing there? And how are you growing this? And how do you deal with this problem?" And it's almost like we've got counselors now and psychiatrists working with us, and we got all these,
Yes.
it's like we've got this massive support group that we never had before. And I think that maybe why we've grown so much.
Well, and I think too, like when I was in my own brokerage, and you're always trying to like take it to the next level. How do I do this? And you had to figure it out. Ask your coach, or you're going to have to figure it out. Whereas now, like I don't try to figure anything out. There's almost too many good ideas. I'm like,
Yeah.
oh crap, we can't implement all of those, but
No.
really they all work because they're killing it. They're doing 4 times what we're doing.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's like there's an abundance of goodness and creativity, and nobody's like when I was at the big box companies, heaven forbid you do more than somebody else, because then they're
Yeah.
just gonna start hating on you and talking about you behind your back. Whereas we're inspired by each other's successes.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
like a totally different world. And
Yeah.
when I look at it, I'm like, how do people not see it? Like this many people can't be wrong?
It's a culture shock, really.
Yeah.
It really is. I mean, it's just so different. And I tell people that. And we do have people come in here and go like, "What? Why is everybody trying to help me?" They're
Yeah.
not used to it, right?
Yeah.
But
So
we're all aligned. We're all aligned to help each other grow.
Oh,
So
we are.
yeah.
Before we end, let's kind of talk about the market, because everybody wants to know about the market. Like I know what we're doing here in the US. What is Canada like? Are you guys feeling the same things we're feeling?
Yeah, like I mean, we've had about a 15% decline,
Yep.
right? But when you look at it, I always try to find the silver lining. I always try to find the, what's good about it, right? And
Yeah.
and the thing is, if you look at year over year from last year, I mean, the prices are still up, right? We're just not getting the multiple offers that we did, so we're kind of balancing out. I actually prefer this, to be honest, because I mean, we're always strong on listings, right? I had an agent when my first year when I started. He said to me, he said, "Listen, he's let me give you some advice." He said, "A good agent in a good market makes good money,
Yeah.
right? But a good agent in a crappy market makes a shit ton of money."
Yeah.
Right. And it's so true. So what we do, and I mean, we've been through this before, right?
Yep.
So all I'm doing is we're doubling down on everything. Like we're not trying to cut back. We're cutting back in certain areas that
Yeah.
we think that might not help us. And then what we're doing is doubling down on the marketing efforts, doubling down on the calls. I mean, we're making, twice as many calls now as we've ever made. We're
Yeah.
contacting our database. Like we're doing things that most agents won't do,
Yeah.
because the average agent will retract and do less
Yep.
out of fear. right? But
Yeah.
what we've been trying to teach our team is like, go hard, go
Yeah.
twice as hard now, and you will pick up market share. And when we come out of it, you will dominate.
You totally will. With your agents and your team and stuff, do you have an inside sales department as well?
We have, we've just hired somebody in the last 3 months. We used to have an inside
Okay.
sales team,
Okay.
and I mean, I'll be honest, it was a babysitting ordeal for me, and it just
And
wasn't, and the problem with it is it takes 6 months before they start making any good money if you're paying them on commissions, and most people can't wait for that. So it wasn't great for me. I didn't have a good experience with it. But now what we've done is we've actually hired a company that scrubs all our leads for us. So we generate the leads, send them to this company, they scrub them, and then they do a live transfer to our agents, and
okay.
that has been pretty good. At least that way, I know they're being called. We
Yeah.
spent a long time sending the leads to the agents, and I mean, if they're anything like me, they'll call them twice, and then that'll be it. They'll never see it again. They won't set them up on a drip. I do have, probably 5% of my agents that are very good at
Yeah.
dealing with leads, but then the rest of them usually aren't.
Right.
So, yeah. So
That's the norm. Which company are you using?
it's called Conversion Monster.
Oh, yeah. We've used them before.
Yeah. So we've just started with them a few months ago, and I can track what's going on. I know who they're sending the calls to, and things like that. So far it's working. At least I know they're being called.
What's your thoughts on the market moving forward? Do you think we'll see interest rates dip back down? Do you think we're going to be into a great buyer's market next year? What are you predicting?
I don't predict anything, and I don't care, because you know what? I don't care. I really don't. You're gonna find this crazy. I don't watch the news
I don't either.
because it's all negative,
Yep.
right? And it doesn't matter. I bought my first house. It was like 13.75%. Okay. So I bought what I could afford based on the rate. I
Yeah.
think that once the fear is gone here, right? I mean, we might have a slow winter, but I think once the fear is gone and people have basically been accustomed to, okay, hey, I got to pay 5 or 6%, whatever, then great. Adjust what you can afford and go buy that.
Yeah.
All right. Like the prices have dropped, the
Oh,
rates have gone up. So I think the cost of buying is almost identical,
it
right?
is.
So get over it and
Yeah.
move on, right? And just stop making excuses. So many people want to make excuses about, oh, the rates are up, or we had COVID, or we had this. You know what? Shift and adapt.
Yep.
That's all you got to do, right? And
Yeah.
keep going and stop watching the news.
You know what? I love what you just said, and I didn't even think
I
about
can't
it.
even tell you what the interest rate is right now.
Well, when I looked last, it was a little over 7 here.
Mhm.
So, yeah, which is higher than normal. But you know
Yeah.
what? People got spoiled. The interest, it was like free money when it was in the twos. That's unheard of. It can't stay
Yeah.
there. And
No.
the average Joe, maybe they weren't or maybe they're just making an average income, but they could afford $500,000 and $600,000 homes because there was no interest on it. Well,
Yeah.
now they're looking and they're like, well, I can only afford a $350,000 home. It's like, that's still a nice home. You just got spoiled,
Exactly.
Step back down to reality a little bit,
And you know what? If you sold your home in a high market, that meant you had to buy in a high market, right?
Yes,
Now, you know what? You're getting less for your house, but you're also paying less. So
correct.
get over it.
It's relative.
Yeah, absolutely.
So for your team and your growth as we're moving forward and we're going to close out here, what are you guys predicting for 2023? What are your goals?
I think we're going to have an amazing year. 23 is my favorite number, and
Oh,
it's my lucky number. So I think next year is going to be our best year ever. I know that with agent growth, right? That's going to be, I think, really, really good because we got some huge momentum going on right now,
yeah.
and I'm really confident. I think we're going to have probably our best year ever next year. I mean, we've got a great team. We've got some good people. They're well trained. They're tying into the EXP stuff, like all the coaching and training, and they're going to that. And I think that, we've got the tools to have a great year next year.
I love that. I love your
Yeah.
positivity. I
Yeah.
think there should be more people in the world like us that don't watch the news, that believe in the glass being half full or glass running over, I should say, right?
Yeah.
That's how
Yeah.
we look at it.
Exactly.
Hey, Pierre, for people that
Yeah.
want to reach out to you and learn more about you and your network and how to grow, how can they find you?
I think Facebook is probably the best spot. I mean, I'm slowly working my way in Instagram, right? But I think my circle is more the Facebook. So Pierre Nadeau on there. I got a personal page, and then I got a business page, Nadeau Real Estate Group as well.
I totally appreciate you jumping on here with
Yeah.
me today. I think, as we move forward in the industry and it continues to evolve, and I mean, number one, I'm so appreciative of our connections and our friendships, but I feel sorry for those brokers that are out there like you and I once were on the island alone and
Yeah.
not knowing what to do and how we're going to make it through winter. And they're starting to cut people back because, I know there's layoffs going on, but at the end of the day, like we're responsible for so many different vendors that we work with that we have to keep things moving.
Yep.
We have
Yeah.
to. It's up to us.
This is the thing. They have options.
Yeah.
There's options out there, right? If they keep doing what they're doing, they're going to keep getting what they've been getting. So it's up to them to get out of their comfort zone and look at what their options are, whether it's this or something else or whatever. I mean, there's options out there, right? So
There are.
Yep.
Do your homework, reach out to Pierre. If you got questions about how to run a team, reach out to me. We're here to help you guys. We believe we're better together in all things.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Pierre. Have a great day, you guys. Bye, y'all.